This is my product review for the Keen Targhee 2 hiker. I want to do a review for this because I've been wearing it for a few months now, and it's one of the most amazing shoes I've ever put on my feet. And since it is such a great shoe, I feel like I don't know, when I go about buying new gear and new hiking products or even any kind of products, I always look for reviews and try to find out things that I need to know. And anyway, usually they come up short on a few things, and I've got a pretty good feel for these shoes now, and I want to give you a good, solid, thoroughly field tested review of them. Number one, they're only about 4 months old, but I have almost 700 miles on these hikers. 100 of those miles are dedicated hiking miles on real hiking trails. The other 600 are me at work delivering packages all day. But I deliver out in the country, and most of the miles I put on my feet at work are up gravel driveways and yards that, honest to God, some of them are like being in the middle of the wilderness. But so these things have this pair of shoes right here, this pair of hikers has almost or roundabout roughly, and I conservatively estimated that around 700 miles. So pretty field tested. The main things I want to point out is I bought them to be a dedicated hiker that I only wore to work when it was raining. I needed some really good waterproof hikers for work. And I thought, well, I'll wear them to work for a couple of days to get them broken in, give them, get 10, 12 miles on them and let them break in a little bit before I go out on a trail somewhere and get in a miserable situation and test them out. It is unlike me to spend $150 on a pair of shoes. I need to say that right up front. That is a painful thing for me to even consider. But I got talked into it and I tried them out. And what happened is I wore them the first 2 days to work to let them break in. And now 4 months later and almost 700 miles later, I have not taken them off. And will except to sleep. I do take them off occasionally. But I haven't worn a different pair of shoes to work in 4 months. They're the most comfortable shoes of any kind I've ever worn. And I've worn a lot of different hats in my life, and that means I've had a lot of different kinds of shoes. And these are literally, I'm not exaggerating, the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. On top of that, they seem to be incredibly durable. I had some questions about how long the waterproofness would hold up, and I was concerned about the durability. Particularly, I noticed this. I did have, you see those cracks there in the rubber? I was concerned about those cracks if they were still going to be waterproof. So I field tested it the other day, and I went and stood in water that came up to just below the top of the heel. And completely submersed for 5 minutes, and they did not leak. My feet stayed completely dry. In addition to that, last week we had this weird August cold front, and it rained for 5 straight days. And I was soaked almost head to toe every day, and my feet never got wet at all. They are completely 100% waterproof, and that, to me, is one of the single most impressive things about them. Other things I noticed, I had a pair of cheaper hikers by a different brand that I don't want to get sued for libel, so I'm not going to say their name, but they fell apart in the first 3 weeks I was wearing them to work. But what it was on those, one of the things that fell apart first is up here on the toe. The caps came and stopped right here like most normal tennis shoes, and those came loose first. These, if you'll notice, the toe wraps. It's got a reinforced toe and it wraps over the top. And I think that that's probably a really solid feature on these. I'm not having any separation of the toe from the sole at the toe from the rest of the shoe. We're talking about only 4 months, but 700 miles on these, and they're still incredibly comfortable. They're still completely waterproof. The cons, the downsides, if there are any, one of them would be, I've noticed they seem to be slicker than usual, what you would expect whenever you're on wet rocks. Now, I've got river shoes. I've had different pairs of hikers. I do a lot of hiking. And they just seem to me that they are slicker. And that's obviously a very important thing to consider since they're for hiking. Unless I just got an anomalous pair, if that is something that's just going on with these, it's something for you to consider. They seem to have less traction on slick surfaces than most shoes I'm used to. And of course I have the low heel, and I have weak ankles. I should have gone with a taller, like a mid heel or something. And actually, I'm considering buying another pair to dedicate just for hiking that have the higher heels, so I can have some more ankle protection. But I've rolled my ankle a couple of times in these. They seem to have a higher center of gravity. That seems like a weird thing to say, but they seem to have a higher center of gravity when I'm stepping in and out, and I've rolled my ankle a couple of times in these. So that's something to consider, is maybe go with the higher top version of it. But all in all, the info I want you to have if you're interested in buying a pair of these shoes is it's 700 miles, a lot of wear and tear. My job is not easy on shoes, and like I said, 100 of these miles are trail miles, roughly. Completely still 100% completely waterproof. Just field tested them a few days ago. They're still super comfortable. They're still my favorite pair of shoes that I have. And I mean, they seem to be incredibly well built. Like, this is one pair of shoes I will never regret the $150 I paid for them. And like I said, I'm actually considering buying another pair with the higher top in the back for ankle support to dedicate for hiking specifically. So anyway, appreciate it. I hope the review was helpful to you. And if it was, please like and subscribe and check out all my other content.